My name is Maria, and you're listening to the podcast where we deconstruct someone's PhD experience so that you can reconstruct your own. This is a journey with many challenges, but you might find yourself in a similar situation as one of the guests here. Enjoy listening. Hello, curious researchers. Let's talk about how you can get something by asking 100 different people, or doing something in 100 different ways, or having a combination of the two. So usually, if we want to fulfill something in our connected society, or in general, the fact that we're social beings, we do rely on other people. We do not want to end up all by ourselves and having to do everything ourselves because that would take us so much time. So let's use the expertise of the other people, especially during a PhD, especially because you are working in a group and you have come here to leverage the knowledge and the expertise that is already existing in this group. Before you ask somebody or bring out what is it that you wish for, the inherent thing is a no. Otherwise, this wish would have been fulfilled already. Now, the first invitation is please go out and ask people for what you need. Because if you have not asked, you have not given a chance to someone else to respond. In many of the occasions, we do need this somebody else. How to ask? There are many examples on the internet. In this podcast, I'm not going to go into the details of how to do something, but let me reflect on the most important thing when you do ask. Be connected to why you want what you want, be connected to the response of the other person, and respect what the other person gives you, whether it is a yes or a no. So there is your wish, the connection to your wish, there is a connection to the other person, and then there is the result of this ask. Even if the person gives you a no, this is actually an amazing starting point to figure out why is it a no. Because we have many different reasons why we want or do not want something. And when we get a response from the other person, we assume that it is exactly why we would say no. In many languages, there is this expression that the assumption is a mother of all misunderstandings. So please do not assume. And if you want to play the detective, go out and figure out why this person has said no. This is a perfect starting point. If you are curious and you genuinely want to understand, okay, what is the reasoning behind this? How is this other person thinking or feeling in order to say no? What is the blocking factor? And please don't be pushy if people are not responding well in the way you are going about it, but be receptive also to what the person is communicating. Now, let's go into some PhD specific examples. Let's say you want to get a PhD position. Most probably, you are not going to apply to only one PhD position and put all your hopes and efforts to that position. Most probably, this is a very evident for us that we are going to apply to many different places. And of course, we are going to choose which places we would want, which countries we would like, which institutions, which groups, which people, very important. But this is not going to be only one and only application. And this comes as a common knowledge, right? It's interesting so that we can start from this one that is probably very obvious for many of us. And of course, we have favorites. We have our wishes, why we would want to go somewhere. But maybe those favorites, they don't come to realization. So in this case, applying to many different positions, and it can be 100 different positions, or the same position, but in different time. So that would be 100 different ways. I have many friends who applied for PhD positions and jobs in 100 different companies and universities and institutions, and some of them applied multiple times to the same company. If there is, for example, a university or a group or a company that you absolutely want to go to, you're probably going to continue applying to 100 different positions in that same company. Now, let's look at another example. For instance, you need to use a measurement setup. And usually at university groups, we have measurement setups that are shared, that you need to reserve, that you can use for a specific period of time. And you need to agree on this with your peers and maybe a lab manager or your supervisor or somebody else who is involved in this process. So what you're going to do is that you are going to try asking different people who are in charge. Or maybe you can go and ask different labs. Can be that it's also a lab that is adjacent to yours. Can be in a different building, in a different department. Can be in a different university. Can be in a different institution entirely. Can be company. And maybe something beautiful comes out of this. Maybe there is an extra collaboration that comes out of it. Maybe there is a connection that comes out of it that you are going to use later. So only good things can come out of it. And even if you get to know, imagine the situation that you would go to a company and ask if you can use their measurement setup and propose how this would be valuable for them and what you would do, what is your responsibility, what is their responsibility. And imagine that you get to know. You did get to know to use the setup in that period of time, but you got a connection. You got an easy entrance to that company at another point in time. It may be that if you approach them in a few months or in a year, that you would get a yes. Or maybe you agree that they are going to come back to you when it would be possible. And even if this doesn't happen and you had this agreement, you are absolutely free to follow up on that. So there are many different ways to do something. You just need to keep going. And you are already there. You are already doing this because look at where you are right now. You are doing a PhD. You have gotten until a point that you have gotten because you have asked many different things in many different ways. So I congratulate you on that. And the message here is do not give up just because the first iteration did not give the result that you wanted. Imagine if we would apply the same thing in relationships. Because our first love did not turn out the way we wanted, now we want to give up on love and relationships altogether. If this would be the case, then probably we would soon be extinct as a species, seeing that this is a scenario that many of us went through. So I hope that this is not what you are going to apply. Maybe there will be a period of grief, and for sure, you need to pack, and we need to pack this experience within ourselves. But then we are going to continue with renewed hope that another thing will work out. And let me give you a few random examples that came to mind in general in life, because we are talking here about PhD, but this is way broader and beyond PhD. I have an example of a specific knowledge. For example, in the Netherlands now, there is a law that if you have a gas boiler, gas water heater, you need to do a maintenance on it once a year. So this is something that I absolutely cannot do. I don't have the specific knowledge on that. I don't have a license to do that. It has to be a licensed company, a licensed technician who can do that. And the type of boiler that I have is something very, very rare. So I started calling different companies thinking, okay, I'm just going to call the big one and it's going to be a done deal. And then it turns out that they do not cover this type of gas boiler. They don't know how to work with it. They don't have the spare parts. So I started calling other companies. And after 2 or 3, I really was discouraged. But then I thought, okay, let me apply this principle. I just need to ask 100 different companies, and there will be one that will be working with this type of boiler. So this is literally what I did. I called at least 50 different companies. I kid you not. I have spent really hours of trying to find which one works. And I have encountered so many funny examples, companies that have moved to Spain and don't operate in the Netherlands anymore, people whose service was so pleasant, but they didn't have parts for this or they didn't work with this type of boiler. So it was also an experience on its own. And it was fun when I approached it and like, okay, I know that I have to ask 100 different people and that's it. Another example that I have is the example of survival. A few years back, I was walking on a weekend in a shopping district in Eindhoven, and at a certain point, there was a lady who stopped me and asked me if I can buy her food. That went very deep for me because she told me the story that she was standing there since the morning and asking all the people who were passing by if they can buy her food until she found one that will buy her food. So imagine that you are in this situation, and I sure hope you are not. But if we imagine the extremes, you would probably go and have no problem asking for 100 different people to buy you food. If this doesn't inspire you, I hope there is an example from your life that you can find where you have done this, and I'm sure you have, asked 100 different people in 100 different ways for a thing that you absolutely cared about. So you have this already within you. And if you haven't already, book a discovery call where we can discuss things about your PhD and things that go beyond your PhD, because I want you practicing this during the PhD so that when you are done with it, you are absolutely ready for anything that comes your way. Good luck. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If there was anything that you discovered or found remotely interesting, do share. I'm always curious to hear what is it that you resonated with. See you in the next episode.